Right here on Penn's Peak Radio, where rock and country collide. Except right now, all we have going on is the country side of things. We're into the second hour of the show. We also heard a little something from Miss Wanda Jackson back there. And Wes Mack. That was brand new music. It's a little something called Before You Drive Me Crazy. Songs like that are always great country songs. But we have on board another great artist, which is another return artist. We've had this gentleman on the show before. It was so much fun to talk to. We ended up inviting him back, and he took us up on the offer, which is crazy, right? But, yeah, we're so excited to have on board another great artist that is out there doing his thing, living the dream, getting music out there, putting on the boots every single day and kicking up some dirt. Everybody, please welcome aboard Mr. Sean Patrick Mcgraw back to the Wall to Wall Country Show. Sean, how the hell are you?
Not unwell, thank you. How are we doing today?
I'm okay. You sound like a busy boy. You're like buzzing all over the place.
I'm actually, I was a verse and a chorus and a bridge to writing a song.
Oh, I'm sorry.
As we are scheduled. No, hey, it's all good. I write whenever I'm inspired, but I pretty much have a writing appointment every day that I'm in town. I usually write every day that I'm in Nashville, and sometimes it's a couple times a day, and my co-writer and I today got together real early, and we thought we might have been done by now, but man, we had a really great start on the song, and as long as I can walk out of the room thinking I've, been somewhat productive, I'm happy, and I think we wrote half a hit today, so it's all good.
Oh, that's awesome. And you're definitely a songwriter and a performer as well, but that's a part of the big passion of you is to write songs.
I mean, that's why I moved to Nashville. I didn't move here to be a singer or a guitar player. I just happened to be able to do both, and have kind of made a living playing by mistake. That really wasn't my intention. My intention, years ago when I moved here was to be a songwriter. But playing music has kind of been my day job, and writing music has been that's what I moonlight doing. But I've been trying for forever, just, to really establish myself as a writer. And, I'd like to think I'm kind of disciplined about it, and, trying to make sure that I am prolific, and, you write whether you feel like it or not. And
yeah. Yeah.
means, I crank out a bad song every once in a while.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
most of the time.
it might, and who knows? Maybe it'll get resurfaced a little bit, and it won't be such a bad song a little bit further down the line. You never know.
Well, it's interesting. I've found, and today was one of those days that the best songs I have, it feels more like you're kind of stepping out of your own way. If I don't try and overthink and overforce songs, they usually just come out in a very organic and
natural
easy way.
Yeah.
So today we had a good one. It's a little different. I hate to always be one of those people that kind of catches yourself doing the same things over and over again. So I'm always trying to go into territory that I haven't explored before.
Well, you know what, Sean? We're going to get more into your music here in just a minute. The stuff that you're actually performing and putting on albums. But just how about let's just step back for just one quick second for those folks who may not have caught the first interview, which happened last year, and kind of refresh people a little bit where you came from, especially after the comment of, you moved to Nashville to be a songwriter, not necessarily an artist, but moved from where? How did this all start for you? Give us a little rewind into your past just a moment and remind my listeners where it all began.
Well, I grew up in a little town about 50 miles southwest of Buffalo, between Buffalo and Erie, Pennsylvania, Buffalo, New York. So I'm almost Canadian.
Okay.
You can no exaggeration, if you ran up the road that I grew up on, if you run up on the hill a little bit, you can see clear over across the lake to Canada. So I grew up about that close. And for people who are listening, I only say that for people who are listening who are maybe from down south or out west, where someone like me, I say I'm from upstate New York, and whether they start asking me questions about New York City or saying, "Oh, I've been to Manhattan or I've been to Queens," and I'm like, "Really? I never have." I grew up, I didn't. I don't think I have a New York City accent by any stretch. I grew up owning a snowmobile and playing hockey.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the environment that I grew up in, and I started playing music. A very early age. I mean, I was in the school band when I was probably 8 years old, and I joined my first rock band. I think I was in 7th grade.
Wow.
8th grade. I mean, we were young, and I started playing bars. I would get a permission slip from my parents, or my mom would just take me to gigs. I'd be playing in dive bars when I was 14 years old, and so I've been doing this for just forever. And I always kind of knew that's what I wanted to do with my life. I never was sure that I could necessarily do it. I mean, wanting to do something and actually doing it are obviously two different things. And surviving and actually making a living and paying your bills solely doing music is really, really, it's tough. I always thought it'd be great to be a musician and do that for a job, and it's not like having a job. And in some ways that's kind of true. On the other hand, it's like, well, yeah, but you also you have to take whatever work comes your way and travel a lot. And sometimes it's like, well, maybe I don't really feel like going somewhere to get a gig, but it's like, well, if I don't take the gig, then I don't keep my gas on. So
right.
It's a great lifestyle, but it's definitely a lifestyle that's not for everybody. And
yeah,
I'm fortunate that I can do this for a living, and I really love it. And I'm fortunate that I have people in my life that are okay with that. They're patient with me and can understand that, hey, I'm going to, I have to travel a lot and I can't always be at home.
Yeah. Well, and you must be doing something right, and maybe your whole attitude about things is part of what got you there. I mean, you knew you wanted to write songs, you knew you wanted to get out there, you ended up deciding to play and taking some advice and working with some people who have really been able to help you. And it landed you in front of some people that was really, really helpful. It landed you, at shows in front of people who recognized your talent, were like, hey, this guy's really got something, and put you, on tour with people like Eric Church and Dierks Bentley and Josh. I mean, those names aren't anything to sneeze at. You know what I mean, Sean?
Well, it was, any of those tours that I got, it's kind of funny. It's like I could never, if you read the music magazines, from Mcgraw, or if you read the national paper every day, people love to overstate what they've got going on. When someone could, say some artist, knows he's going to have some tour, and they make a big deal of it. So and so announces that they're going on tour with Kenny Chesney, and you try and really shine a light on stuff, and most people, shine a big light on their little accomplishments. In Nashville, and the music industry especially, it's really kind of built on bravado and building yourself up, And I've always kind of been the opposite. I was kind of like, well, I got a couple shows with so-and-so. People go, well, it's a big deal. I'm like, well, maybe it is, maybe it's not. But all the tours I've ever had, I toured with Toby Keith, I toured with Dierks Bentley, I toured with Eric Church, Josh Thompson, Jared Neiman. None of those tours was I ever guaranteed the whole tour. I was always on all of those. I was asked, well, we'll give you a weekend out with this artist, and at the beginning of their tour, but we'll just see how that goes. And it's always been a case of, well, we'll give you a weekend out with this artist, and you've got to prove yourself. And if the audience doesn't love you, we'll find someone else.
Right.
And when I toured with Toby Keith, I was supposed to only do one weekend with him, and it turned out that I ended up doing the whole summer.
Right.
And I had no idea that I was going out with him for the whole summer. Right. I knew that I knew that on the 20th of May, I was going out and doing a Friday and a Saturday, and we got done on the Saturday. I'm like, hey, why don't you come out with us again next week? And they did that to me every weekend. And basically when I toured with Dierks, it was the same story, and with Eric Church, it was the same story. I was supposed to do 4 shows with Eric, and I ended up doing 16.
Yeah.
I was supposed to do 2 shows with Dierks, and I ended up doing I did 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think only and those were Jägermeister tours, and I think it was only after I'd done a couple where I'd proven myself in front of an audience that I think when I did go out with Jared Neiman, they said, hey, we've got 30 shows, and you can have all of them if you want. And
right.
I was like, yeah. Sure.
Let me think about that for a second. Okay, sure, yeah.
Well, because they're asking you to do that. I mean, some people don't want to be out that long, and it amazes me that there are actually some artists that don't like to tour. I'm like, why would you ever be in a van? Why would you ever decide, to start a career as a singer? And then when your record label says, hey, we've got you 50 dates with George Strait, do you want them? You say, I don't know, let's go out for 10. It's like, hell, man, I'll do all 50 and
then some.
Send me out with somebody else as soon as that's over with.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to do the work.
I think that's part of what I was trying to refer to. The idea of your being humble enough to say, hey, listen, I'm just doing what I'm doing, and not trying to shine the big, spotlight on yourself or whatever, and having that come across in your personality, as well as, you're hungry. You're like, give me whatever I can do. And I think that might be part of why your success is there and doing so well, and people are recognizing and saying, oh, hell, we're just going to give him all the things because people love him and his music's great. And obviously you got to be, good to work with, because I think, anytime there even might be that personality clash that might cause issues. So it sounds like, the whole round package of Sean Patrick Mcgraw is what people are falling in love with, and your music on top of it, and your songs and all that kind of stuff. And that's really admirable to say, they're turning around and saying, hey, we'll just give you all of them because we know people are going to love you. That's kind of cool. Yeah, well, and I maybe it helps too that I in the case of some of these tours, some of the politics involved, man, if someone gets a lot of money invested in them, sometimes they get a lot of second chances where, I've done a lot of things on a real shoestring budget. Not to say that I don't have people, that, everyone needs somebody that basically finances your endeavors in the music business. But, right. Man, it kind of will amaze you sometimes when someone, typically a young artist, gets backed by a major label or a major management company, and they sink a lot of money into them, and man, you can fall flat on your face quite a few times if you've got, someone's just put a couple $1 million into you. They may watch you fail a couple times, and they'll keep giving you chances because they want to recoup their investment. Yeah.
Whereas if there's not if they don't have a vested interest in you, meaning if they haven't sunk money into, what do they care how
right.
you do?
Right.
So, and it's and basically that's another side of the music business that most people really don't think about, or that they're not conscious of, is that, when you're an artist, singer, songwriter, you're basically constantly in search of finding someone who's willing to invest in what you do, and and hopefully that you can produce and have them recoup on their investment. And in this day and age, when everyone gets the music for free, mm-hmm. It's hard, but there's always, all you can do is be creative and try and figure out another way to stay afloat and stay in the game.
Well, that's really interesting on how you're saying, because one of your songs keeps coming to mind, as you're telling your story, Sean. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and we're going to play it. But My So-Called Life, tell us a little bit about that one.
Which kind of describes everything that
you just got done saying.
So that's a great segue there, by the way. And ironically, I never want to write songs that are so much about what it's like to be doing what I do that the average person can't relate. And My So-Called Life was really, every line in that song has to do with just trying to stay afloat in Nashville and trying to keep your dreams alive. And I remember writing it and thinking, well, I'm not sure if anyone's going to relate to this. And walking out of the room after having written that song and thinking, well, it's okay, it's a song. And, I never would have thought that, a couple years later, that song has been recorded by 6 different people.
Right. And
if you, get on YouTube, there's 5 different videos of people doing that song. So go figure. I wouldn't have counted on that way back when, but I guess people like it because it's been recorded a few times, and it's really done well for me.
All right. Well, we're going to let people listen to it, at least listen to your version of it, since you are a co-writer on that song. And just a quick piece of information, several artists did record this song, but they also need to know that this song was licensed by ESPN for NASCAR for some of the coverage, back a couple years ago, which is really cool. So we're gonna take a quick.
Every time you watch the races in summer of 2009, you heard the first 10 seconds of that song.
Yeah,
it's kind of neat.
That is cool. And we're back with Mr. Sean Patrick Mcgraw and his tune back there, My So-Called Life, that did quite well for you and actually got maybe a little more recognition than you were expecting when you wrote the song. We mentioned about it being on some of the NASCAR coverage, but you also landed a couple of songs on some other television shows. You want to tell us about some of those?
Yeah, I did a couple of songs on HBO's True Blood.
Okay.
And that was a couple of years ago, and then just at the end of last year, I had a song in the show Nashville, and I had another song in the show Sons of Anarchy, and I just got another song in an upcoming Hallmark movie, which unfortunately I can't remember the name to save my life, but I'll make sure that I put announcements on Facebook and other social media when the film comes out. But I think it's supposed to be out sometime midsummer. So, those kind of placements in TV and movies are always, they're good for someone like me. They give you a little bit of mailbox money and kind of put you in people's subliminal, in the back of their minds, because you're watching the movie, and how often do you really pay attention to what the songs are on the soundtrack? But,
right.
Not a bad thing. Good.
Yeah. Well, having the knowledge to know that it's your song too, is kind of cool, because people might actually tune in just to hear it. It's like, oh, there's a new Sean Patrick Mcgraw song on this movie. I want to listen to it a little bit. You were talking about.
They never let me know when I got a song in any kind of film project. They never really let you know how prominent it's going to be. Mm-hmm. So there's been a couple times where I'm like all excited, like, wow, I got a song in the show, and then you watch the show and it's just barely audible, like, your song is a song that's playing on someone's AM radio as someone's mowing their lawn, and you can just kind of barely hear it. It's like, wow.
Thanks.
That was exciting. Anyway.
Yeah, but but it's still out there. You still get it on the credits, and, it's still getting your music out there, a little bit. A little bit. But, you were talking about doing some touring and things like that. Now, you just came back from a very interesting place earlier this year, and you were doing some touring in another country. That had to be fun.
Went to Ireland in February.
Yeah.
And, man, I had the time of my life. It was everything you'd think it would be, except, to be honest, I expected the Irish weather to be really lousy in February, and it was actually pretty sunny and not too cold. And meanwhile, I was in Ireland when Nashville was going through its worst cold snap of the winter, and it was 10 degrees below zero here in Nashville. Meanwhile, in Ireland, it was 55 degrees and sunny almost every day I was there. And I'm like, this is what winter's like in Ireland?
Yeah.
Go figure. But did a couple shows over there that were officially on the tour, that we planned on doing, and then end up doing a bunch of last minute pub gigs around where we stayed. And man, sometimes, well, not sometimes, all the time, for me, I don't get. It's an old cliche that musicians have. I don't get paid for playing. I get paid for moving my stuff. Well, because I love the playing part.
Right.
It's only the setup part, and sometimes driving 500 miles to do a 2-hour gig. But,
sure.
Yeah, man, the hang and the jam sessions that we had with some of the locals were just, it's like. It's one of those times I kept thinking to myself, God, I love what I do. It's so much fun. We made so many friends, and I'm already making tentative plans to go back, probably around the same time next year. But
nice.
They're very tentative yet. But the audiences there were wonderful to me, and with a name like mine, they were they're very welcoming people anyway. But the Irish people were really, really stellar to me.
That's awesome. Is there a place, Sean, that if you had another place that you have not been that you'd like to go and perform, where do you think that would be and why?
Well, Japan would be a good choice.
Yeah?
And then I think going to Brazil would be great, because I know that they love country music in Brazil, and their population is so huge that, you know, you want to sell a lot of records, get an audience there, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I know the UK is big with country. I've had that conversation with a couple of different artists, and I actually have a couple artists that call me and get on my show from like Sweden and Norway and places like that. And I just find it amazing. You know, they're serious about their country music over there. They're darn right serious over there.
They are. Audiences in England, especially though, are kind of into like an old school country. So for someone like me, like I toured England a couple years back, and I after 3 shows, actually, I almost got booted off the bill. They said, you know, you need to turn things down a little bit. And
no!
Then like you're rocking too hard for us. So I really had to, you know, I literally did have to turn things down and try and country up my set. I'm like, I already thought I was country. Well, their definition of country over there is a little more old school.
Okay.
Than our version of it is. But you know, it wasn't a tough transition, because, you know, I had songs in my catalog that fit that, you know, what they want over there just fine. In fact, the song that I just released over in the UK and in Ireland did really, really well. It went to, like, I think number 2 on the Hot Disc chart, so it was really well received. But, you know, after releasing a few songs over there, I kind of have an idea of what it is that, you know, a British or Scottish audience wants to hear. So, you know,
what was
it did take some learning.
What was the song you released over there?
It was called "Come Home with Me." It was the song that I toured with when I went over there in February.
Okay.
So like something like, you know, "So-Called Life" would definitely be rocking a little bit too hard for that audience, but that's quite all right with me.
Wow. So you mentioned about some new music, and you're preparing to release a new CD. Do I have that right?
I've been preparing to release one for a while. Man, it's a pretty long, boring story as to why it's taken me a while to get my new CD out. But hopefully, there's really no excuse. By hell or high water, that sucker's going to be out. Let's see, what's the date? Let's say by Memorial Day.
Oh, I'm going to hold you to that now.
No matter what I have to do to make that happen. I haven't, you know, it hasn't been like priority is not the right word, but, you know, irregardless of me being able to get that record out on iTunes and get a physical, you know, and all the artwork done on it, I basically bootlegged my own new record, you know, a year ago, and I've been I bootlegged my own record, and I've been selling my own bootlegs at my gigs for the last year, and I've already sold 10,000 copies of a record that hasn't been released yet.
So, oh, wow.
You know, it's if there's any reason why I'm not like so freaked out about, like, I gotta get this thing done. Well, you know, I've already got it for sale at gigs. It's just a matter of when you put it up onto iTunes and put it out there, you know, and officially released. It really is a lot of artwork that has to get done and stuff like that, and that's what's been the holdup. So
now
it'll get done when it gets done.
Well, I'm going to call you Memorial Day and go, Sean, where's my copy?
Yeah. It'll be done by then, I promise.
Okay. Now, you had some associations with CMT and a documentary called 10 Days on Tour, and you did some work with them on a video and on a song. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? My first couple of videos, specifically the video for $1 Ain't Worth a Dime was actually financed in a way, or CMT kind of helped me make it. Mm-hmm. So without their help, and that's another really, really long story, but CMT was actually considering starting its own label that year, and I was somewhat being, what's the word? Groomed?
My vocabulary is failing me, but groomed for it, exactly.
Okay.
Groomed to be on their label, and
Okay.
then that just they other mitigating things happened where CMT did not end up starting a label, but we did get to make that video, and in making that video, I formed a relationship with the director. The guy's name is Michael Estrella, who directed that video, who then directed 2 more for me that we pretty much did on our own, and CMT was still kind enough to play those videos. And just a little bit before I did that video, CMT, I did what's called Live at Studio 330, which is CMT is their address is 330 Commerce Avenue in Nashville. So Live at 330 is the show that you go in and play at the CMT studios.
Mm-hmm.
I did that, and the year before that, I did this documentary that CMT aired called 10 Days on Tour, which was kind of a reality show. In some ways, it was almost like a glorified commercial for Prilosec, because they were the sponsor of it.
Okay.
And it was another one of those instances in my life and in my career where you get a hold of a gig, you have something going on where you think to myself, okay, this is going to change my life. And I think we did 9 installments on 10 Days on Tour, and I really thought, okay, this is going to make me famous, and this is really going to be a big deal for me. And CMT did all sorts of promotion before it came out, like, come watch Sean Patrick Mcgraw on CMT's 10 Days on Tour. And then they promoted the bejesus out of it before it got released, and then it released, and they didn't tell anyone when it was on. And I didn't even know when it was on.
Whoops.
The very last episode.
Somebody dropped the ball.
The very last episode aired. And the other irony was, I did this show thinking, wow, this is going to make me famous. This is going to help me, start really getting to the next level in my career. And then they started playing them, and I didn't even know when they were playing the episodes of it. And not only at that time did my life not change, but when I did finally see the last episode, I was playing in a dive bar, and the TV was on, and all of a sudden I'm looking at the TV while I'm playing a gig, and there I am, and there's my show on television. And I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, I guess I'm famous. And there were like 5 people at the gig, because no one knows who I am. And we all kind of stopped and like, oh my God, you're on TV. And I'm like, woohoo.
Oh my gosh, Sean. Oh my dear. So it's not all roses, huh? It's you got to really have a very.
I'm not saying it doesn't suck. I'm not saying, oh, this sucks. I'm just saying it just.
You got to go with it.
You know what to expect. You
right.
know.
Right.
You just never know.
I think you could tell stories for hours. I really do. I remember the last time you were on my show, and you were a storyteller then, and you're still a great storyteller. Unfortunately, these are true stories that have happened to you, but but they're fun. And you know what though? But anybody out there listening, who may be thinking about this as a career, they just really need to.
Don't do it.
Now, don't say that.
Learn computers.
But maybe they just need to really have kind of more of a understanding that you just, like you said, you got to kind of roll with the punches. You got to kind of like take things as they come and just, do the best you can at what you're doing and believe in yourself. And sooner or later, something awesome's going to happen. Like you're going to see yourself on a dive bar on the television set.
to quote an old songwriting partner of mine, it takes a special kind of stupid to keep doing this after all the rejection that you will get year after year, and to be able to just keep getting back on the horse when things that you think are going to culminate don't.
Right. But
it really probably does take some sort of idiocy, but I haven't had a plan B,
Right.
I mean, my plan B, for the life of me, I just don't have one. I mean, it's been succeed or don't.
Right.
I have no other specific skills where I could go out and have a real job, and I haven't had a real job in so long. I don't know how I would ever be on someone else's clock and do that. So it's I've had to eke out a living in whatever way I could, playing guitar, doing session work, whatever, and have been able to make that happen. And I'm still maybe crazy enough to think that, hey, my better days are still ahead of me.
Yeah.
And I'm still, chasing the big brass ring as a writer and as a performer.
Well, I mean, and there's got to be some moments out there that were surprisingly pleasant as well. And
well, I'll tell you one that like I said, I always keep my expectations. I don't keep them low. I mean, I'm not negative by any means.
Right.
I really have to maintain positivity, and if I don't, man, I have to always expect things, or not expect them, but hope that things are going to turn out, and positively, or they won't, or they won't. But an example of me really not expecting anything out of anything. A couple of years ago, when I played Stagecoach, which it's one of the biggest country concerts that there are. It's like Woodstock.
Mm-hmm.
Stagecoach is held out in Indio, California. It's the country version of Coachella.
Okay.
So there's 60,000 plus at Stagecoach. And when I had my relationship with CMT and I had, things going on with them, my management that was involved with CMT, we just started our agreement and just kind of had started a business relationship, and they called me up and said to me, hey, man, we think we want to get you, we're going to see if we can get you on Stagecoach. And I'm like, well, when's that? And they're like, it's next weekend. And that's when I laughed. Yeah, but I said, oh, sure, go for it.
Uh-huh.
And then I hung up the phone and thought, are these people insane? Like, that's not going to happen. And a big concert like that, they know their lineup a year in advance.
Right.
And they just don't add somebody last minute, and this isn't going to happen. I mean, I'm not, and again, I don't mean to sound negative, but I thought...
But realistically...
I've been doing this long enough that I know the logistics of how these things work and how they're scheduled, and I thought, well, they can say they want to make this happen, but I'm not counting on it. This was on a Saturday morning, and Stagecoach was the next week. Tuesday night, I get a call from my manager saying, I'm pretty sure you're on. And I'm like,
what?
Really? Are you? And then Wednesday calls up and says, yeah, man, make sure you need to get some plane tickets because you're definitely on the bill, and you need to figure out what you can do about equipment and your transportation for getting there. But, yeah, you're on. So make sure that you're in L.A. by Friday night because you need to be out, in Indio by 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. You need to have your own drums and instruments and yada, yada, yada. And I'm thinking, I honestly thought, I swear to you, I thought, well, yeah, they got me on Stagecoach, but what I'm probably going to end up doing is I'll be like one of those bands that plays out in the parking lot as people are either coming into the show,
right,
or I'll be one of those bands that plays in catering to the other bands and keeps them entertained, or I'll be a band that's playing in the beer tent. But that'll be, that's what they got me,
Right.
I mean, I don't know how many of my times I had friends of mine, they're the band that plays out in the parking lot in front of a Tim Mcgraw show, and then they tell everybody, yeah, we open for Tim Mcgraw. I'm like, not really the same thing. But that's what I figured we had,
Right.
And I was okay with that. So I'm like, okay, I have no expectations. If we're playing in the beer tent, we're playing in the beer tent. We're playing in catering. I don't care, but, so-and-so, I guess, pulled some strings for me to get on this gig. So I will get my plane ticket, and I go out there and go out to California, to hunt down some guitar amps and a set of drums, throw them in the back of my sister's F-150, and pull up the Stagecoach, and there's all these, Darius Rucker's there, and I'm that day. Kid Rock was the headliner. Kenny Chesney was the headliner the next day, and there's just a huge sea of humanity out in the audience, and we pulled up to the back of the stage, and there was 6 side stages, and I figured, well, maybe we're in one of those, but more likely we're probably playing in the parking lot. And pull up to the stage manager and say, yeah, are you Bob? We're the Sean Patrick Mcgraw band. Where are we supposed to go? And he's like, oh, right here is fine. And we're like, well, okay, but where are we supposed to go? And he's like, well, right here. We're like, right here as in where? Because we're on the big stage, right?
Yeah.
We're right behind it. He's like, you guys are on in 20 minutes. Hurry up and set up. We're like,
what?
Where? And he's like, and he starts going, are you stupid? He's like, here, go set up. You're on the big stage in front of this audience. And I swear, at the time, I'm looking around. My head was in a swivel. I'm like, where's the camera? I'm like, I'm being punked. I'm like, someone is playing a practical joke on me.
Awesome.
Where is the hidden camera? Honestly, I thought there's no way that we are actually on the main large stage, jumbotrons and all, in front of that audience.
Right.
And we started setting up, and I kept waiting for someone to say, we're just messing with you guys. You're over in the beer tent.
Yeah. Yeah.
I kept waiting for that to happen, not until we were done, and we got a huge ovation from the crowd. And the stage manager comes over and goes, yeah, you guys were great. I can't believe I haven't heard of you before. I mean, I'd canceled a gig in the basement bar of a dive bar outside of Erie, Pennsylvania to play Stagecoach in front of 60,000 people.
Not realizing what it was.
It was happening.
Yeah.
You never know.
So there you go. So that's a cool story too. Yeah. So you don't know which way it's going to turn. You just got to kind of go with the flow.
Well, I just never know. I never know what to expect. I really don't. And
that in itself got you on the Jimmy Kimmel show, right? And you opened some dates for Toby Keith.
I got a rave review from the LA Times from that show, and we basically took that rave review and
ran with it.
Waved it in front of the faces of some people over at ABC that put me on that show after hearing, like, wow, who's this unknown guy that went to Stagecoach and, blew the doors off of it.
Yeah.
And that's also how I got my first weekend out with Toby Keith, because we basically did the same thing with him, and he was like, well, I'll give y'all a weekend, let's see if you can really do it. And then, we got great reviews touring with Toby, and I ended up doing the whole summer with him. So.
Nice. Well, good for you. Congratulations.
We keep sneaking into the party whenever I can.
There you go. Hey, beg for forgiveness later, never ask for permission. That's what I say.
Exactly.
So we're back with the storytelling. Sean Patrick Mcgraw, you're such a great storyteller. I'm still laughing about the unbelievableness of ending up backstage at Stagecoach. I mean, that just... When did it finally sink in? When you were playing, were you still thinking, they're going to chase me off the stage any minute now?
It really wasn't until we got done, and I think everybody in my band, I had done some big shows before playing guitar for some other people, and I'd been in front of some big audiences, but the guys in my band, I don't think any of them had ever been in front of more than 500 people, and that we were in front of 40,000. So
wow, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's a little different than playing a bar, for sure.
So tell us about this song, this Dollar Ain't Worth a Dime, and let us know about that, since you have that video out there for it.
Well, man, in some ways, I guess times have changed. And I wrote that song, gosh, it was probably 7 years ago now, I think I wrote it. And I wrote it was right after Hurricane Katrina, and my band was out on the road, and that's remember when gas prices were, they were over $5 a gallon some places out west. And my phone started ringing, and I got offered all these gigs that summer. I think it was the summer of 2007, 2008. And I was like, why am I getting all these gigs or being offered all these gigs? Well, the reason was the smart guys who'd been offered gigs out west had realized that they weren't going to make any money doing them, because the gas money alone getting you there and back was going to be more than what you'd make.
Okay. I
was stupid enough to not realize that and do, I hadn't really, done the logistics of touring on my own before, and I was like, I took all these gigs that summer, and at the end of the summer I got back to Nashville, and I'm talking with my now co-writer of that song, Dollar Ain't Worth a Dime. He says, hey, man, how did things go out, in Montana and out in Wyoming? How was that tour? I'm like, man, it was a blast. He's like, how much money did you make? And I'm like, dude, not only did I not make money, I think, I've still got a couple $1,000s worth of gas on my credit card that I'm going to have to figure out, I better have to rob a bank or something to pay for it, because, man, that just clobbered us, spending all that's put in the tank to get out there. And I said, maybe we should write a song about, the economy at the moment and how tough it is to survive. And I don't remember where the expression "dollar ain't worth a dime," if it was David Kroll who I wrote that song with, or if it was me who said that. But man, we wrote that song, kept thinking, well, if this is a Steve Earle song, someone would get shot. and we could write a song about somebody, holding up convenience stores just because he's got mouths to feed and bills to pay. So I wrote that song because times were really tough for me, and then that was the song that got the CMT interested in me and got me, onto the network. So sometimes, like I said, you never know. I mean, I'm writing about, how I'm going to survive in this business, and that song was the one that got me onto Kimmel and got me on the Toby tour, and it opened up all kinds of doors for me.
So that's pretty awesome.
Go figure.
Yeah, well, you never know. And your story is truly one of those stories that people definitely need to take heart and hear it, and just really understand that when that the times you think something big might happen, it may not, and then the times when you're really not expecting it, that's when the best of things happen, and you just got to go with it. You got to keep going, and if the dream is to do what you do for a living, Sean, for some young artists out there, then that's something that they just gotta. One of the things that they gotta check off their to-do list every single day is just keep trying, no matter what. If it's a good day or a bad day, just keep trucking forward, and you just never know when something's gonna open up a door for you.
And my experience and one little, sometimes it's hard to remind yourself and hard to maybe still say, I'll get through things when things are maybe tough, when things financially might be hard, or you just think, wow, when am I going to get another good gig or another good tour, and you start to freak out a little bit. Is that, man, whenever I start to stress out my personal life, that's when all my best songs happen. So, but I've never been one of those. I've also seen some songwriters. I think they purposely throw sticks in their spokes to try to mess up their lives so they have something to write about. Which I've never done that, but
well, sometimes you don't.
The hardest times have been productive for me.
Well, sometimes you just don't have to. Life just comes when it's going to come, and you're just going to have to go hang on for dear life for the ride. Mr. Sean Patrick Mcgraw, and dollar ain't worth a dime when things are tough. Some people might turn to robbing a bank.
Don't do that either, kids.
Yeah.
Not be a bad influence.
There you go. Yeah, do what I... No, you can't even say that. My mother used to say, do what I say, not what I do, but that would be do what I do, not what I say. I don't know.
Something like that.
Oh, my goodness. Well, it's, I don't want to hold you up too much longer, but it's always such a treat when you're on the show, because you just have some great stories, and I'm sure you could just continue to fill the show with awesome stories.
Yeah.
Call
back again when I got a couple of beers in me. You'll really have a fun time.
Hey, listen.
It's a little early in the day yet.
A question, I said this to you the last time we were on the phone, and I just want to re-emphasize it one more time. If your travels do ever bring you up to Pennsylvania, I think you would just be a hoot to have in the studio here. And we'd love to have you, and the doors are open. I mean, anytime you happen to head up this direction, feel free to get in touch and let us know. I think it would be awesome to have you actually right here in the studios telling some stories and playing some of your music. So know that invitation is always there for you, Sean.
Absolutely. I actually play Western Pennsylvania on a pretty regular basis. This summer, I don't know when I would even be close to that. I mean, I'm actually on the road quite a bit in June and July, but I don't think I'm coming close to you. So, it might have to be after that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's just kind of keep it in the back of your mind. I always like to extend that, because you just never know. You never know when you get that phone call and go, "Hey, do you want to go up and play in Eastern Pennsylvania?" And
yeah.
We'd love to have you. But as far as how people can stay in touch and get in touch and find out where you are going to be and when you do release that new CD, what's the best way to stay in touch with you, Sean?
Sean Patrick Mcgraw Music is my Facebook tag.
Okay.
Sean Patrick Mcgraw Music. And I do have a personal page, which is Mcgraw Sean. And the thing is, on Facebook, they only let you have 5,000 friends. So that's why I just tell people, go to the band page, because I can't friend people, because you max out at 5,000 and you can't add people, and I don't know why they do that, but that's how Facebook works. So Sean Patrick Mcgraw Music is the best way to find me. Just if you Google my name, you'll find my Facebook pages and my website, which is just SeanPatrickMcgraw.com, and I spell Sean SEAN. And there's, there's a lot of other websites that have music of mine that you can listen to my stuff and stream it for free. I have a lot of unreleased material on SoundCloud.
Okay.
And on Reverb Nation. Then there's a lot of stuff on there that I might never release. So if you want to just check out stuff, I write a lot of songs, and I pretty much put all of them up, or at least I have for about the last year or so. I put everything new that I write, I throw it up on SoundCloud and just ask people, hey, what do you think? And it helps me gives me an idea of what songs should be going on to whatever, my next CD will be, because then, I write 40 songs a year. I'm not going to put 40 songs on a CD. I'll pick my best 10 out of that 40. So
right.
I put everything up and try and see what the crowd response is.
What was that Facebook? What was that one again?
Sean Patrick Mcgraw Music is my band page.
Uh-huh.
And if you also want to look for me on SoundCloud, just go to SoundCloud and search my name, Sean Patrick Mcgraw, and Reverb Nation, same story. You can find all kinds of music of mine on there.
There you are.
And some of it's not even me singing. Some of it's stuff that I've written with someone else singing. But you can kind of hear some songs that you might not even hear me play live.
Now, are you the guy who answers the Facebook?
I am. I actually, I don't have someone. It's not like I have some service that. People message me on Facebook. Yeah, that's really me messaging them back. It's not. It's not some college kid that I pay $50 for. That's really me.
That's cool. That's awesome for people to know that they, and they can stay in communication. And then check out your website as well, which is a place that they can make sure that they know all about where you are, what you're doing, and that's just SeanPatrickMcGraw.com. They can listen to some of your music there, including some of the music we played today, see some videos, pics, blog, blah, 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 all that good stuff. And, and let people, folks, let Sean know that you heard all about him here on PPR. And I don't, is there anything else you want to cover quick, Sean? If any upcoming news, anything wink, wink, nudge, nudge, we can kind of like put a bug in people's ear about?
Well, like I said, just hopefully we just get this CD released, no later than Memorial Day, and I keep my content updated and current, and try to put up stuff that I think is funny and whatever on my Facebook page. So if you can friend us there, that's always the most up to date information on what I've got going on.
Well, I am your friend. So there you go. So check this out. Check this guy out. Again, it's Sean Patrick Mcgraw on Facebook. You can find him there. You can get some information. Are you a tweeter too? Are you on Twitter?
I do. Yep, I do.
I think we posted something about that, and you retweeted it, or I don't know. I don't understand Twitter, or whatever the hell it's called.
Twitter.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
There's too many of them. Instagram and all those Penn, whatever. There's like crazy.
It's kind of overwhelming, and I mean, I never wanted to be one of those people that you're always on your phone and you're always doing that stuff. I mean, you have to do some of that stuff to a certain extent, but
right.
But I am on there, probably as much as anybody else. So.
All right. Well, check this guy out.
Follow me.
Follow him, tweet him, post on his thing, on his page, befriend him and friend him and all that kind of stuff. And I wish you the best in everything, Sean. I mean, always talking to you is such a fun time, and I appreciate taking time out of your day and interrupting your songwriting there. But
thank you, Casey. It's all good.
Any time, and you got something new, or you actually do get that CD released, and you want to throw it out there, feel free to do so. Get in touch, and you know how to find me, and we'll let our listening audience know.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
All right, sir. Well, you have an awesome day, and keep up the great attitude. We love you. Take care, sir.
We'll do. Thanks so much. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye then.